So I've seen it time and time again where a small business, and if I were to put a number on it, it would probably be somewhere between 1 and 5 million. They go visit some huge conglomerate company, good company, but huge. And they gather all these ideas, and they're told they should do this and do that as a small company, and they'll grow, and they should add plumbing right away, and now I'm talking HVAC here. So they should add plumbing right away, and they should add electric right away, and they should do this and do that. And they chase what bigger companies are doing, and they run themselves right into the ground quickly. Fast growth will take you under faster than lack of capital. I know one tried to mimic a national chain, their fancy training room, their fancy showroom, all that they had, and they lost their loyal local customer base. And one owner hired way too fast just to look big and ended up laying off half his staff 6 months later. And comparison did not grow their business. It wrecked it. So in today's episode, I'm going to be breaking down why small businesses fail when they copy instead of create, and how to build something great by staying true to your mission, your culture, and your calling. Hey, this is Greg McAfee, and welcome to the Greg McAfee Show. Now let's get started. Hey, welcome back to the Greg McAfee Show, where we discuss steps to successful entrepreneurship, how to take your business to the next level, whatever that level might be, and ultimately follow that American dream you have. Okay, first I want to say thanks to Sam Clark for behind the scenes making this podcast look so good. Sam does all the editing for me, and he has for quite a while. And I've never given him kudos, but when we watch this podcast with the fancy artwork and all that stuff, I could never do that. So thank you, Sam. Much appreciated. Also, today's podcast, I see it all the time. Comparison kills culture. Stay you. That's the bottom line. Stay you. The title of this is Comparison Kills Culture. It will kill your culture. Culture's how you do business. It will kill it. Just stay you. So, the trap of comparison, number one. You know, social media makes the big guys look polished and perfect. And, you know, they always have, if you're in the heating and air business, these big guys always have plumbing, always have electrical. Now, that wasn't the case. I've been doing this 35 years, guys. That wasn't the case. Probably 20 years ago. And we figured it out. It's not a bad thing. When you are ready to do it and you have the capital to do it with, it's not a bad thing. It's actually a very good thing. It's extremely profitable. We're in the homes anyway, all that kind of stuff. So, but these guys go to these seminars and they go visit these companies and they say, you know, you should add plumbing, you should add electric, and you should leverage more money. Borrow more money, invest it in your company. Buy the most expensive software. I'm not going to put a name on a software, but buy the most expensive software. It'll pay for itself. No, it won't, guys. No, it won't. I used a less expensive software, extremely good software for 20 plus years before I expanded into the more expensive software, and still I negotiated that and got a better deal. So, Don't get caught up in comparing yourself, especially on a website or social media, because anybody can make those look good, polished, perfect. And then what happens is you start chasing their goals instead of your own goals. And it's real easy to get wrapped up in that because they look so good. And then what happens, unfortunately, is you start losing confidence in your uniqueness. It doesn't look as good. It's kind of like somebody builds a brand new house and they furbish it with new furniture and all that kind of stuff. And they're your friends and you go over and you walk through the house and it smells new. And then you get back to your house and it's 50, 60-year-old house and it's got your old furniture in it and it needs new carpet and it probably needs painted. And you're like, ugh, our house sucks. It only sucks because you went and looked at a brand new house and you walked through it, because you compared your house to that house. No difference in business. No difference in business. And, you're doing 1.5 million, they're doing 75 million. It's a huge, huge difference. Comparison robs us of our vision. We stop running our race and we start drifting into someone else's lane. Man, we've got to stay in our lane. Our lane will take us farther. Keep your eyes in your lane. Keep your business in its lane. Keep your culture in its lane. Keep your team in its lane. It makes a huge difference. I'm gonna get into this deeper here. Number 2, pros of I got pros and cons here. So pros of observing a large company. There are some pros to going and visiting a large company absolutely all day long. I've done it most of my business life. Since the second year in business, I've told you the story. Mark Swepston, I sent out 3 letters. Mark Swepston answered the letter, Atlas Butler, Columbus, Ohio. He invited me to his place. At the time, I don't know. I think he was doing somewhere between 15 and 20 million. That was back in the early 90s. I said I just needed an hour of his time. I'd pay him $100 and buy him lunch. And I spent 6 hours with him that day. He wouldn't let me buy him lunch and he wouldn't take my $100. He's been one of my mentors for years, but he took me to a tour of his entire facility, and I learned a lot. I didn't come back and try to change my garage into Atlas Butler. I just took a few ideas and implemented them. So, number 1, you can learn from their structure just like I did. They have good processes, delegation, and scalability. If you've started at a kitchen table or a garage like me, I didn't know how to process. I didn't know what a process was, rather. I definitely didn't know how to delegate because I didn't have anyone to delegate to. And I had no idea how to scale. All I wanted to do was what? Survive. And then you can gain marketing inspiration. You can see what they're doing, their advertising campaigns. You can see some of their customer experiences, and you can see some of their brand strengths. Huge to learn from. Huge. And then you can, really learn from their vision building. It's okay to dream big. We just don't want to copy blindly. That's the thing. Look, I've learned a lot from the big players. There's a lot of big players out there today, but I don't become them. I do not become them. I become better by learning what fits me, what fits my culture, and what fits my team. Very important. Now let's talk about the cons. I've already mentioned a few. Cons to comparing to larger companies. You see the outside, and the outside appearance, what did I say from the beginning? It looks polished. It looks perfect. But you don't get to see the inside scoop. You don't get to see all the debt they have. You don't get to see all the pressure they have. You don't get to see their turnover rate. You don't get to see any of that. You just see the outside. You see this beautiful building. You see this beautiful training room. You see this beautiful lab. You might have a lab, a warehouse, all this huge equipment, all this stuff, all these nice offices. And that's all you're seeing. It can be very deceiving sometimes. And big doesn't always mean better. It often means slower. Remember, when I came into the market, a lot of the big boys that had been around years and I was brand new, took 2 to 3 days to do a complete residential install. 2 to 3 days. That was not good enough for me. Right away, we got it down to a day and a half. Right away. And then I said, I think we can do it in a day. And I guaranteed install in 1 day. And that got some attention. Okay? Because at the time, 2 to 3 days, nobody wants you in their home that long. Okay? I surely don't, and that's kind of how I think. If I don't like it, I don't want my customer to have to deal with it. So, they were slow. They were big and slow, okay? Remember David and Goliath? Goliath was slow. David slung that slingshot, hit him right in the head, killed him. And he was slow. He didn't know what to expect from David. David was quick and nimble, fast. Also, it causes you to try to skip steps. When you're comparing yourself to a larger company, you're skipping some really growth learning steps, experience learning steps. And you start copying their systems. Well, if they do that and it works, I'll copy that in my company. There are some things you can R&D, rob and duplicate. There are some things you can rob and duplicate, and I've robbed and duplicated, and people have robbed and duplicated from me, and it works pretty darn good. But don't screw with your culture. You don't want to change your culture. First of all, it takes quite many years to build a culture, and it takes a few years to destroy one. Fast. I mean, it's faster than building one. And you can't copy systems. You can take a few ideas from the systems, but you can't copy them. And you can't take shortcuts that don't match your mission. So many guys do that. They get their eye on a shiny object. The big business in this case is the shiny object, and they lose focus of what they're in business for. They really do. And that's why 95% of businesses go out of business in the first 10 years. So we can learn from anyone, but we can't lose what makes us real. Stay fast, stay lean. I say that all the time. People walk through my door. They always ask, how many employees do you have? And I say, how many do you think we have? And they normally guess 2 to 3 times more than what we have. And my comeback to that is we're extremely lean and fast. We do more than a lot of companies do with more employees than us, okay? And we definitely make more profit than they do. Okay, so we can learn from anybody, but we've got to stay lean, we've got to stay fast, and we've got to stay us. You've got to stay you. That's why I titled this, Comparison Kills Culture, Stay You! Exclamation point. Okay? Number 4, why small can be a superpower. Well, first of all, we've got agility. We can pivot. We can change. We can change in a day. I often say my first conference table was this little round table with 4 chairs. And we could sit at that table, we could implement an idea and make it happen tomorrow. Think of an idea and implement it tomorrow. And that's fast. We don't have to go through any corporate boards or a committee to vote on it. No, it's a good idea. We're going to do it. We've come up with some of the greatest ideas at that little round table. Now, I still have the round table. We don't use it for our conference room anymore. But I still have that round table, and there's just a lot of wisdom to that table because we come up with, 8 to 8, same great rate there. We came up with figuring out how to private label there. We've come up with a lot of things at that little table. And also, we've got a strong culture. You see, you control your culture. If you're big, it can get away from you. If you're small, you can control it because every move sets the tone. And I often say the team follows the leader's lead. There's a great book I used to talk about years ago. I actually interviewed the author, called Lead, for God's Sake. I recommend it highly. Okay. So then you've got the ability to have a better customer connection. You can be a superpower and have great customer connection. You're closer to your people. They might even ask for you on a call. And then you've just got, as a smaller company, you've got team loyalty. Small often means family-like commitment. You don't want to lose that. No matter how big you get, you don't want to lose that family commitment, that family feeling in a company. People like that. No matter how techie we get today, people like that. And lastly, our way, your culture, your calling. So don't let the noise of a big business drown your mission. You get into like a trance of, wow, they're doing $75 million by doing all this stuff I'm seeing. I'm only doing $1.5 million or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Be careful. Be careful. Don't let the noise of big business drown out your mission. Create your own path. It's your business. It's your world. With God's help, create your own path. Build a culture worth coming to work for. And remember, someone out there is comparing themselves to you. If you're doing 3 million, somebody who's doing 1 million or 500,000 is looking at you going, wow, I want to be like that. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, but there's everything wrong with trying to copy culture, because your culture is totally different than everybody else's. I told you this before. If you're married and your parents are still living, and you do Thanksgiving dinner and you do Christmas, I guarantee you, both families are completely different. You don't go into that other family and say, hey, we're going to do it this way. No, that's their culture. Or vice versa. It's their culture. Leave it alone. They like it. My culture's my culture. It works at McAfee. Very family-oriented. My culture's my culture here on this podcast. Clean version. High energy. I don't watch other podcasts and go, oh, I want to be like them. Maybe I should drop some F-bombs and I'll get more likes. Are you crazy? That's not me. It's not my culture. If it works for them, that's fine. I don't care for it. In the Marine Corps, we didn't care or chase what others were doing. We didn't care what the Army was doing or the Air Force was doing. We were part of the Navy anyway, but we didn't care what they were doing. We led by example. We set the standard, and we got the mission done our way. The Marine Corps is known first to fight. We're going to do it our way. And it works well. It's worked well for 200 plus years. All right, closing challenge. Stop watching them. Keep your eyes on you. Go visit if you're doing 2 million, go visit a company doing 4. If you're doing 4 million, go visit a company doing 8. These mega companies, if you're below 10 million, you're not going to understand the concept. And it doesn't mean you're ignorant. It just means you're not used to that. It's too big. Too big. All right. Learn what applies to you and how it fits, and then get back to work. I used to hold a lot of boot camps, business boot camps. I'd have 20 to 30 business owners in the boot camp. If you are listening or watching and you came to a boot camp, thank you. Hit like button, please, and leave me a note. It helps me. But I had something on the wall. I'll put it up here on the screen. GM Boot Camp. I like the take 2 to 3 things away from this boot camp, not 100. We're probably going to talk easily about 100. Take 2 or 3 away that you can apply in your business without killing your team, without spending too much money, but it can change the way you do business for the better. And then run with it and get back to work and make it happen. Those were my expectations, though. Those were my expectations from the boot camp. Very simple. Let them be big, okay? When you go visit a big company or you see a big company or you hear about a big company, let them be big. You be smart, okay? And you be strategic, and you be solid, and you be you. And one day, they'll be studying you. And I can tell you this, and you can ask him anytime you'd like, Mark Swepston, my mentor, after 35 years, about after 25 to 30 years, when we would meet for lunch, he started asking me questions. He's seen my growth. He's seen in 2008 when everybody was down, we were up about 46%. We didn't hunker down. We bought new trucks. We hired. We advertised. We were up 46% when most every other heating and air conditioning company was down. Most every business was down, actually. But we chose not to hunker down. We chose not to partake in a recession. And I actually had big buttons made. We choose not to. We were up 46%. That was the biggest growth we ever had in 1 year. It was huge. And the following year, we were up over 22%. So it wasn't like it was like one-time deal and we didn't, come close. We still grew. All right? So, don't get caught in the trap of comparison. Know the pros and cons of visiting larger companies. Learn how small can make you a superpower. And know your way and know your culture. Know your calling and just be you. You will go farther. You will be more successful just being you. So thanks for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe below. You can also support this podcast by rating and reviewing on iTunes or your preferred listening platform. Keep listening. I'll do my best to keep challenging you. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Greg McAfee Show. No spaces, no underscores. As always, thanks for listening. God bless. Make this day the best day of your life because we're not promised tomorrow. I'll see you later.